Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your Viceroy of Verisimilitude, your Master of Fun and Wonder, and of course, your existential Mr. Rogers, and a number of things that a lot of people call me that I don't even know yet. But welcome to this, Robservations, the show about something. Well, I forgot to say, I'm Robert Meyer Burnett, your host, and this is Robservations, the show about something. Robservations, episode number 319. Rob casting at you from the Robservatory, and yes, once again, I think they know the routine. Tallulah is here. Tallulah, the golden, actually not the golden doodle, she's golden, but she's an Irish doodle. Forgive me, my lass, for me not giving you your due. I think it's time that I'm going to have to, of course. I mean, I love how they're timing this now. So, okay, Gilbert's here, Tallulah's here. I understand, Gilly. Boy, do you guys get the drill? Who's coming up? Oh, you climbed on top of your. Oh, you're both. Look at that. Look at that. You both come up. No, I understand. No. Your sister gets hers. You get yours. That's it. You got your treats. Okay. I know I love you. You know I love you. Now you guys got to get down. Down. No. No, come on. Got to do the show. Oh, man. That was my water glass. Come on. I mean, I only love you to so far. Yes. You got to get down, Tallulah. Yes, let me do the show. You know, it's funny. You'd think I'd plan that. Anyway, welcome to Robservations. For all of you new subscribers, wow, I'm overwhelmed at the response of my last two shows. I want to welcome all the new subscribers here. I hope I don't disappoint any of you by talking about the subjects here at Robservations. I try and pick an interesting subject that you imagination connoisseurs, you members of our community here, the Post-Geek Singularity, and you imagination connoisseurs, I always try and pick subjects that I think you might be interested in, and they're obviously certainly subjects that I'm interested in, and I hope I don't disappoint anyone by not talking about the Star Wars Episode 9 Duel of the Fates script. I'm done with that subject. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. I hope you stay and continue to enjoy Robservations as we move forward. All of my longtime viewers know that you just never know what you're going to get every day here on Robservations, the show about something. First of all, there is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Well, to talk about that, yes, indeed, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker has indeed, as we all knew it would, hit $1 billion, which is, it's exciting. As I have always said, the $1 Billion Club is an amazing club to be a part of, and any movie that hits $1 billion, that is not something to be taken lightly. There is a ceiling as to how much money is ever going to be spent on these kinds of films. And let me just read this. It's by Rebecca Rubin, and it was the headline: Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker hits $1 billion globally, but trails predecessors. Rey, Finn, Poe, and Kylo Ren are once again members of the $1 Billion Club. Disney's Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker crossed $1 billion at the global box office on Tuesday, joining the exclusive company of its franchise predecessors, 2015's The Force Awakens, 2017's The Last Jedi. Let's not forget there, Rebecca, that Rogue One also hit $1 billion. So that is 4, which means Lucasfilm, under the stewardship of Kathleen Kennedy, has made 5 feature films, and 4 of them reached $1 billion on average. I think if you include Solo and you average them all out, maybe all 5. But that's amazing. And say what you want about Kathleen Kennedy, despite the tortured journeys that some of these films had to get to the big screen, having a 4 out of 5 billion-dollar grossing lineup is pretty amazing. While still hugely profitable, the sequel trilogy has gotten mixed reception from diehard Star Wars fans. Has it? Has it? Has it really? Of course, I'm kidding. That, in turn, has diminished audience enthusiasm to see adventures that transpire in a galaxy far, far away. Rise of Skywalker also generated polarizing reviews and was the only entry among the new Star Wars films that didn't receive an A cinema score from moviegoers. Ticket sales for the series have steadily declined since sky-high anticipation to see The Force Awakens, the first live-action Star Wars movie at the time in over 10 years, drove domestic grosses to $936 million. That is a staggering domestic gross, setting an all-time record in the U.S. and Canada. It was also an astronomical success internationally, earning $1.1 billion. 2 years later, The Last Jedi opened to wildly divergent reception and brought in $620 million, also a staggering figure in North America, and $712 million abroad. So, hey, it's pretty great. Let's face it, Star Wars is still in the air and everywhere, and people are having a good time with it. Now, one of the things right off the top that I would like to first of all apologize for is I missed a few super chats and tips yesterday, and I wanted to apologize. There were so many people subscribing to the channel yesterday that I couldn't keep up, and I did miss some before I went off the air, and I wanted to get to those right away. For those of you who don't know, people who watch the channel can support the channel. It's not mandatory, and you certainly should not feel the need. But if you like to support this channel and you like our content, be sure you can use the super chat feature, or you can tip. Either way, whatever's best for you, and I will read your question or comment live on air. And I think one of the great things about this channel is the community of imagination connoisseurs that join. You are all part of the Post-Geek Singularity community. And welcome. John M. sent in a very generous super chat, and he said, I've been wanting to support my favorite channel since I found you. Thanks for the content, Rob. John, well, thanks, first of all, thanks for your support. But it's always nice to hear that people like what we're doing, like what I'm doing. Sally Field was right when she said at the Academy Awards, you like me. You really like me. I know there's people who don't. So it's always nice to hear from somebody who does. So, John, thank you for watching the channel. I very much appreciate it. I hope that you will continue to follow no matter what we talk about. Brandon Valenzuela sent in a super chat and said, what did you think of Khan getting out of the Vulcan death grip so easily? Are you talking about J.J. Abrams' Into Darkness? I try not to think about Into Darkness. I think Into Darkness is probably one of my most hated science fiction films I've ever seen. And, I mean, I've seen a lot of science fiction movies. I'll tell you, and you should all run to YouTube and watch the trailer for Wild Wild Planet, a Franco-Italian co-production from the mid-'60s. And let me tell you, Wild Wild Planet is far more entertaining than Into Darkness is. And it makes a lot more sense, too. So, anyway, Clinging Mars sent in a super chat and asked, in Plinkett's First Contact review, where was the Deep Space Nine crew? I haven't seen that review in a long time. For those of you who don't know, Red Letter Media, I first came across Red Letter Media, and the guys at Red Letter Media, I love them all. Their videos are hilarious. I mean, they've made fun of shows I've been on. Really enjoy their content. But if you haven't seen them, and who hasn't on the internet, but if you haven't seen them, the first time I encountered Red Letter Media and Mike's alter ego, Mr. Plinkett, and his reviews, you need to go back and watch their reviews of the 4 Next Generation feature films, beginning with Generations, and then watch their superlative deconstruction of the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Great stuff. Go watch that. It's amazing. And that's a good question. Where was the DS9 crew? They were probably pretty damn busy. But yeah, I do want to say that I've been overwhelmed by the response on the channel, and I can't thank you enough. And I also want to give a special shout out to one of our own members of the Post-Geek Singularity community, Trinidad the Island Man. Trinidad the Island Man sent me a care package from the islands, the Hawaiian Islands, as it turns out. And it was, I'm going to get into it more tomorrow. It was incredibly generous. I want to thank you so much. For those of you who might not have been keeping up, over the weekend, Zoe, Elizabeth's 19-year-old daughter, had a seizure, and she hadn't had a seizure since she was 3. And she was hospitalized, and it was she actually ended up having one also in the hospital. And no, not because she was doing drugs. She has a condition, and she has to be ever vigilant, and it was very nice to get this care package, and it was incredibly generous on many different levels. But he sent me a really great letter, which I'm going to read tomorrow, but he sent me a picture of himself, and I took a picture. He sent me a lei. And so I got Zoe laid when she came out of the hospital. She was wearing the lei. I took a picture of it. I tweeted it out. So for Trinidad the Island Man, thank you so much. I was overwhelmed by your generosity, and I'm quite enjoying the Hawaiian chips you sent me, these sweet potato chips. Yes, sir, they are among the best I've ever had. So thank you for that. Now, anyway, the topic of today's conversation, you all know of my ongoing, endless, boundless love for physical media. I am a huge fan of physical media. I've been collecting physical media since 1980. For those of you who are interested, the first thing I ever owned was a VHS cassette. I've said this many times before, of Halloween. I got Halloween for my bar mitzvah, believe it or not. Part of my bar mitzvah present for my parents was a pre-recorded cassette of Halloween on video. It was then on Media before it had become Media Home Entertainment. Media Home Entertainment was started by Charlie Band, who later went on and became the impresario of Empire, and then Full Moon, who I actually worked for. It was on Media Home Entertainment before they became Media. Apparently, Media was the name of Charlie Band's first wife, I think. And that was my first pre-recorded cassette. Now, I've loved physical media. You can probably see behind me there are new physical media discs that I've recently received from the UK, Anna and the Apocalypse, the 2 versions of that, the Cotton Club Encore. I love physical media. I've been collecting movies for a very long time. And that said, physical media is dying. It's dying. It's going away. It's eventually it's not like vinyl. Vinyl is much less expensive to press. Physical media, especially if you want a new transfer, if you want to have something that is in 4K, it's expensive. To go back to an original negative, you're looking at basically $100,000 to transfer an original negative, to do it well, to clean it, especially if you go to a place like Photochem. There are costs associated with physical media. Luckily, we live in an age of wonder, and many of the films that I have wanted are already out on various forms of physical media. Would I like to get everything on 4K UHD or 4K Dolby Vision? Absolutely. But I have to tell you, you know what? Disney Plus, I mean, you can talk about whether it's actually Dolby Vision or if their 4K presentations are true 4K. I think Disney Plus, and I know, before somebody accuses me of being a Disney shill, look, I don't think it's wrong to point out when somebody's doing a good job. I'm very impressed with Disney Plus. I like what they're doing with special features. There are more special features, as we've talked about, for Avengers Endgame on Disney Plus than there are on the 4K disc they release. First of all, I'd say for shame. People know I work for Disney for a number of years creating special features content that I'm very proud of. I worked on things like Fantasia and Snow White, things like The Emperor's New Groove. I made a feature-length documentary on the making of Tron, which I would say to that, yo, Disney Plus, where is my 88-minute documentary on the making of Tron, yo? Where's that? Why don't you put that up in your presentation of Tron on Disney Plus? As a matter of fact, I don't understand. The features that were made while I worked at Curdy Pellerin, whether they were on Pixar movies or there's some amazing stuff, not just me, but a lot of my compatriots worked on. Well, I would hope they would go up there. Now, there's some pretty big news in the physical media world today. I would say rather shocking, but I think good news, and this dropped today. This story dropped today, and it's incredibly significant for those who are following, anybody who is affected by physical media, anyone who works in the movie business. This is a big deal. It also, you could call it a storm cloud, but it's a big deal. And that is Universal and Warner Brothers, 2 monster studios that are going to be directly at odds in the streaming wars. They are merging their domestic disc business. I was shocked to read this. This was written by Thomas K. Arnold. It dropped today. And Media Play News, it's not that I peruse Media Play News all the time. This is coming, of course, on the heels of CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. After a year of two gigantic mergers, Hollywood is welcoming the new year with further consolidation, this time in the home entertainment sector. Universal Pictures and Warner Brothers on January 15th announced plans to merge their physical distribution businesses. This is extraordinary, ladies and gentlemen. On the domestic front, the two studios are establishing a joint venture to market and distribute Blu-ray discs, DVDs, and 4K Ultra HD discs in the United States and Canada. The new unit, which still must be approved by the U.S. Justice Department, is expected to officially launch early in 2021. It will combine the existing domestic disc businesses of Universal Pictures Home Entertainment and Warner Brothers Home Entertainment and be headed by the current Universal Pictures Home Entertainment president, Eddie Cunningham. Internationally, territories will be broken up through licensing agreements. Warner Brothers will assume distribution duties of Universal Pictures Home Entertainment discs in the United Kingdom, Italy, and Benelux, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, and Universal Pictures Home Entertainment will distribute Warner products in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Japan. The digital distribution business at each studio will not be affected. The proposed union covers new releases and library titles as well as television content and will be operational for up to 10 years, which, by the way, I loved hearing this. The domestic joint venture will include leadership from both Universal Pictures Home Entertainment and Warner Brothers and covers trade marketing, sales, and distribution. Consumer marketing remains with each studio. The announcement was made by Peter Levinson, President and Chief Distribution Officer of the Universal Filmed Entertainment Group. As the home entertainment landscape evolves, we are continuously working to deliver the best entertainment range and value to our fans, says Saunders. Ron Saunders, he's the president of Worldwide Theatrical Distribution and Home Entertainment at Warner Brothers. The physical business is still an important and active category for the industry. This proposed joint venture with Universal gives us the best opportunity to foster innovation in this business, optimize the physical offering, and extend the lifespan of the format for our fans and consumers. With market conditions and consumer viewing behaviors continuing to evolve, we wanted a partner who shares in our commitment to deliver the best consumer proposition going forward, Levinson said. This proposed JV presents a significant opportunity, joint venture, to continue to work with our retail partners to ensure the format's strength and sustainability for years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, this is for those of us who want to collect movies and who still want to buy physical discs, especially 4K discs, this is great news. As has been reported before, apparently in the PlayStation 5, it is going to have capability to play 4K discs. I still prefer physical media. Anybody who's running home entertainment systems or who has high-end screens or speaker systems, surround sound systems, 4K discs are still the way to go as they've increased technology. Things like Dolby Vision, where your 4K signal is constantly being refreshed, and the metadata can be on a scene-to-scene basis as opposed to, say, HDR10. Dolby Vision is still incredibly exciting for those of us who want to enjoy physical media at home. And I think, wow, if they can keep physical media going for 10 years, and we shall see, that's halfway to the end of my life. So I'm really excited, unless, God forbid, something happens and maybe Disney has somebody take me out early. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a big fan of Disney. And, of course, who hasn't pre-ordered the whole Skywalker Saga box set? 27 discs? Yo, man, you got to bust on that. I know it's a Best Buy exclusive here, but on Amazon UK, it's a little bit cheaper. And, probably it's region-free. I don't know if the Blu-rays are, though. But anyway, Gilbert and Tallulah are out there barking up a storm. I don't know what to tell you. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Numbers came out this week that do not bode well for physical media. And it is distressing. That's why this news that dropped today, I got to tell you, it just warmed my black little coal-ridden heart to read this, because it means that the studios, especially Warner Brothers and Disney, pardon me, not Disney, Warner Brothers and Universal, that still feel that the disc business is vibrant, are going to keep it alive. Now here's the thing. There are great boutique labels. There is things like my beloved Indicator out of the UK. There is Arrow, who does a fine job with genre entertainment. There is domestically, there is Shout. There's Kino Lorber. There's, of course, Criterion. There's other even boutiquier labels out of the UK that I love. 101 Films, 88 Films, Second Sight. Second Sight, those people at Second Sight are putting out my single most eagerly awaited disc of 2020. What is it? Say it with me now. Dawn of the Dead. That is right. Second Sight got access. Thank God Richard Rubenstein saw the light. Second Sight out of the UK. They are a wonderful boutique video label. Everything from packaging to presentation. I'm a huge fan of Second Sight. Go to their website. Write them letters. Buy their stuff. Tell them I told you to do so. No, they don't send me free shit. They should, because I bought enough of their stuff. But it's great that we are... I don't know why Gilbert and Tallulah are barking. I don't know if you can hear that. You probably can. They're barking at somebody. But it's great that these are going to continue. Physical media is alive and well with these companies because they have an installed fan base that is buying their stuff, which I think is fantastic. But unfortunately, even I, when I watch Disney Plus, I don't know if anyone paid attention, but toward the end of the year, leading up to when Disney Plus was launched and right after, Disney was basically, it was a fire sale. They were having the last hurrah, and they were putting out all of these major titles that they would have spent many millions of dollars advertising. They put out all these titles on 4K. They were that last bite of the apple, and they are putting out the Skywalker Saga in a 27-disc box set. You got to get that. But I think Disney, I know people are going to say, well, my family's there's still DVDs and still discs. What about rural areas? I understand all that. But Disney, I think, is getting out of the physical media business. I think that's what Disney Plus, a big part of what Disney Plus is them saying, you know what, we're gone, we're out. And by the way, rightfully so. I think Disney Plus, they're doing a great job. I love their interface. Their transfers are gorgeous. And as they get more and more of their material out, it's only going to be better. Now, if we're never going to get more Disney physical media discs, look, I have the entire Infinity Saga. I did not buy the box set, but I bought all the Infinity Saga with the exception of 2 movies. I still need to get Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron in 4K, but I have everything else in 4K. And, there's it's very embarrassing. My dogs are barking this way. There must be something that, there's other dogs they're barking at too. Who knows? Maybe that will end soon. But it is inevitable. And when you have a place like Disney Plus, even I'm like, why do I need I'll never get up and look at my physical discs again. I'll make a nice display of all of my physical media. Yes, I'm still buying 3D discs. So anyway, but numbers came out, people. Actual numbers about physical media this week, and it ain't great. So if you're a physical media fan, if you like to collect physical media, this headline is initially a little misleading. U.S. home entertainment market topped $25 billion in 2019, with 63% coming from streaming. This article is by Thomas Arnold. It dropped on the 13th. I was going to do it the other day, but of course I got sidetracked by the Duel of the Fates script, which, let's face it, people are probably going to... I don't think I'm going to get as many subscribers and certainly not as much feedback on this program, although I felt this program, again, I'm passionate about this. I love my physical media. Anyway, consumer spending on home entertainment rose 8.4% in 2019 to a record $25.2 billion in 2019. Now remember, it's important to realize they're talking about home entertainment, which means streaming services are counted here. According to the Digital Entertainment Group, subscription streaming, digital movie sales, and digital movie rentals over the internet all generated significantly more money than they did in 2018. The trade association, the Digital Entertainment Group, estimates consumers spent $15.9 billion on subscription streaming, which now accounts for 63% of the entire home entertainment market. That is a 23.7% spike from 2018. That is huge. These are huge numbers. People are going en masse to streaming services. Digital movie sales, commonly known as electronic sell-through, were up 5.1% to nearly 2.6 billion. So buying digital movies is going up. People are buying because why do you need a physical copy? While digital movie rentals through internet services like Fandango Now, Redbox On Demand, Vudu, and Google Play were also up 9%. This reflects consumers' continued engagement with video on demand, increasingly through internet services. Consumers spent a total of $5.9 billion on buying movies and other filmed content. Now, this is a total, either on Blu-ray disc, DVD, 4K, or digital. And that's down 9.4%. Disc sales. Here's the number, people. While buying digital movies has gone up, disc sales, physical disc sales, normally we were seeing a 10 to 15% drop over the years, have dropped to 18.2%. Physical media, that is DVDs, Blu-rays, 4K discs, have dropped to 3.29 billion, which is a huge drop from the year before. 3.29 billion. And if that fall continues, that precipitous fall at 18.2%, and we still have we've got all kinds of digital media sales, digital movie sales are up 9%. We're going to see these things. Hang on one second. I'm going to turn this off for a second. There you go. Sorry. Hey, that's why the show's fun, right? So anyway, the reality is that the sale of all kinds of physical media is in free fall. You might not see 18% as free fall, but 18%, it's been consistent over the last decade. It really has. And the rise of, well, it's been getting faster. Every year there's more. And it's a bummer. And I'm bummed out because I love collecting movies. You know, and again, this is a 20th century phenomenon, I think, collecting movies, because when I was a kid, you couldn't. I mean, sure, if you got Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, you could buy 8mm versions of your favorite movies. I had an 8mm version of Star Trek the Motion Picture. Not the whole movie, of course, but I had a version of it, or you could get 16mm prints. But the idea, home video, when I was a kid, when I started seeing home video at my friend Jimmy Fiddler's house, whose father had bought a bootleg cassette of Star Wars when we were in elementary school. We'd go to his house every day and watch it. It was terrible. It was terrible, but he had it. So anyway, I think physical media is definitely a 20th century phenomenon. Now, there's always going to be new people that come in and want to collect things, because collecting things is fun. And there's a joy of having a collection of things on the wall. It reminds you of yourself, because you know, it's an externalization of your imagination. Having things, collecting things. I mean, you know, I look around at all of the stuff that I have. What's really interesting is all the things I've been interested in my whole life. You know, you look around, and eventually when you collect stuff, and this is just a fraction. I mean, I've got vinyl here. I've got model kits. I've got action figures. I've got books. I mean, who doesn't love having an externalization of what's going on in their mind? I don't know what this says about me, but somebody wrote me and left me a comment and said that your Robservatory has become my happy place. I like that. And you know, I am rapidly approaching 20,000 subscribers, which I thought was going to take probably a month and a half. So it was going to let me get to the wall of Hot Toys, which is it's under construction. It's not ready to be shown. I cannot believe the dogs are going crazy. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know what's going on. Something must be going on. There might be construction. Who knows? But I apologize. They're usually not like this, but I've left the garage door open so they can come in and out. Anyway, I'm going to show you that soon. The Hot Toys wall. I mean, the Robservatory it's a thing in progress. But anyway, a lot of people say, well, there's always going to be a niche market for this. There always will be, because people like to collect things. Hell, there's people, I follow Laserdisc boards on Facebook. And I have a lot of Laserdiscs, and I'm about ready to just give them all away. There's a lot of, I'll keep a few, but I'm like, why? I'd rather give them to somebody who's going to use them. I haven't played any of my Laserdisc. I don't think I've played a Laserdisc, and I swear to God, 16 years. I still have them. I have about 100. And they're good. They're beautifully preserved. They're very well kept. But, physical media, it's all going away eventually. It's all going away. And now the thing I worry about, the question that's on everyone's mind is, will these movies be preserved? Like, for instance, Arrow, all the niche market companies, the smaller companies, Second Sight, Arrow, Indicator, Shout Factory. I'm doing some work for Shout Factory now. But there's not this second, but it's ongoing. It's in this computer. But it as long as there's horror fans, genre fans always are going to collect stuff. They always will. Science fiction, fantasy, horror fans, imagination connoisseurs, you people watching me now, you're always going to collect things. Because why not? That's what we do. We like externalization of the things we love. I like playing with action figures, and that's, I like having a collection of movies. I like my books. I don't like to give things away, even though it's probably irrational in this day and age. When was the last time I went back and read a lot of these books that I've already read? But sitting in here every day, I might do it more. But the fact of the matter is, it's going away. And the Criterion Channel, which is awesome. I love the Criterion Channel. Their lineup of 70 science fiction films this month is second to none. Second to none. I mean, it's truly an amazing lineup that Criterion has provided. So, but the question is, are you if they have the Criterion Channel, are you still going to buy Criterion discs? I mean, that's a tough call. I mean, it really is a tough call. Like, are you gonna go and buy all the movies? Now, it's very funny. So Criterion is actually showing all of these great 70s science fiction films, and I realized I own all of them on physical media with the exception of one. And the one movie that I don't have is the Yul Brynner film, The Ultimate Warrior. I don't own that. And I think it's pretty amazing that of all those movies, only one I don't own. I don't even know if The Ultimate Warrior's out. But the idea is, if the Criterion Channel is showing all those movies and they're touting them and they're making a big deal about it, why do I need to own them? I mean, I guess the idea is, well, you can get them whenever you want. Gilbert, Gilbert, stop that. Don't do that. Gilbert, Gilbert stole a CD. Gilbert, you stole a CD. Don't do that. He stole a CD and he destroyed it yesterday. He took it out of here. I don't even know where he got it. And he destroyed it. I found it in the driveway. It was massacred. I love this dog, but he's a menace. Anyway, and he destroys physical media. Don't you? Don't do that. Here, come up here. You gonna come up? Oh, you only come up when there's stuff to eat, huh? You wanna come up? All right. I'll give you a treat. Look, I want you to look at this face. This is a destroyer of physical media. You're a destroyer of physical media. You know you are. I know you are. You're a destroyer of physical media, and you got a treat. You tricked me into getting you another treat, didn't you? Yeah, I know. Anyway, so physical media is going to go away. It might take a while. Thank God that Warner Brothers and Universal have teamed up to support discs for the next 10 years. And thank God for PlayStation and Sony for having the foresight to put a 4K disc player in their PlayStation 5. Because that might be the only way you'll be able to get a 4K disc player. Because after Oppo stopped making disc players, who knows? Anyway, just thought that was worth talking about, and we will move on from that. So, let's see. Anthony Gonzalez sent in a super chat and said that being that Feige is no fool, how long before we see Hulk fight Wolverine in the snow? How long before a post-credit scene where we see Galactus? Well, Anthony, here's the thing. As everyone knows, I'm incredibly excited about Eternals. I love Eternals, Neil Gaiman's Eternals, Jack Kirby's Eternals. I love the Eternals. I think that we're going to see Galactus much sooner than later. I really do. I had to check and see if he's eating something. And do you think that Kevin Feige doesn't want to see Wolverine fight the Hulk in the snow? He does. Kevin Feige's way ahead of you. He is. He's way ahead of you. Jet Screamer sent in a super chat saying, Ice Pirates is better than Into Darkness. Ice Pirates is better than Into Darkness. I agree with you. I think most movies are better than Into Darkness. Yes, but you're absolutely right, Jet Screamer. I love that. Ice Pirates. Suthius sent in a tip. He says, hey, Mr. B, just finished Watchmen. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, I have to say something about a Vietnamese aspect. The Vietnam they depicted, where Angela met Mr. M, oh boy, looked nothing like Vietnam. More like a generic Asian neighborhood we see in the U.S. Well, that's probably true. My mom's been to Vietnam. I've seen pictures. I've never been to Vietnam. But yeah, it didn't even look like the Vietnam of Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket, which we know was built in England. But you know, it's a TV show. You kind of got to go with it. Darren, Daz, I always want to say Daz Nuke, but it's Darren in the UK, says, just picked up that great In Bruges CD, Blu-ray, or pardon me, the In Bruges Blu-ray set. What Darren is talking about is this. Now, this is what I mean by great physical media. This is from Second Sight. This is from the UK's Second Sight. This is their version of In Bruges. It's that beautiful matte finish. If you like this movie, it comes with the script, the screenplay, which you can read, and it comes with another book, which is a bunch of essays, and these are really nice. These are really well-printed books, and then, of course, the Blu-ray. And this is what I love. I mean, if you like a movie, I think it's very cool to have this kind of an artifact, and obviously the old folks, the great folks, I don't know if they're old, the great folks at Second Sight did create this kind of thing, and I love that. I think we're going to see more of this. Obviously, companies like Arrow, they do beautiful work. The Scarlet Box for the first 3 Hellraiser movies, or Well Go USA's recent Phantasm box set. I have 2 Phantasm box sets. I have Well Go's last Phantasm box set. I didn't get the new one because I haven't seen you can order it anywhere. But let's hope that it survives. So, yes, Darren, it was great, and you are correct. Suthia says, I've been to Vietnam 3 times, and it looks nothing like that lackluster scene. There was even a line or two where Vietnamese was spoken, but incorrectly translated to English. But I'm happy seeing Vietnamese actors and actresses getting more work. Hey, it's always good when more ethnic actors can get work, especially in American shows. I think that's very cool. Obviously, a good thing. Mark C. says, Hollywood Pictures. Hollywood Pictures, Mystery Alaska, Medicine Men, Dangerous Minds, Dead Presidents, Gross Point Blank, and Crimson Tide have never been put to Blu-ray. Disney is letting us down. Well, Mark, I want to, first of all, before I correct you, I want to thank you for your support. But yes, Gross Point Blank and Crimson Tide are both on Blu-ray. I own them both. I do not know about the others. I thought Dead Presidents was on Blu-ray. I don't own it, though. But I do have Gross Point Blank, and I do have Crimson Tide. But you know what? They probably got released once and not again, which is shameful. Shameful, I tell you. Shameful. Now, obviously, as a result of the last things that I've been doing, these last 2 shows, I've received a deluge of letters. And as everyone knows, you can go to the website. There is a website for the Burnettwork. It is the Burnettwork.net, the official Robservations network. I would ask everyone to go there. You can send me letters there. You can send me all kinds of materials there that you want, and that's the best way to reach me. And you know what? I'm going to read an Ian Samuels letter. Our man Ian Samuels lost his grandmother, but Ian Samuels has a new column up at the Burnettwork.net website that he is reviewing old Doctor Who episodes, and he's going to review new Doctor Who episodes as well. It's Ian Samuels' Who View, so check that out. Ian Samuels provides breakdown here of his captains. He says, Rob, the captains of Star Trek, put simply. Tallulah, you must stop. The captains of Star Trek, put simply, Kirk was the best captain of his time. Picard was the best captain of his time. Archer was the best captain to start it. Sisko was the best captain for wartime. And then there was Janeway. Well, even Kate Mulgrew, who at the time of playing Janeway was a single parent to 2 daughters and spent long hours on set, admitted that both Janeway and as a single mother, that she did not do either as well as she would have liked. Also, I agree with the opinion that she also suffered from bad writing. Not as bad as Star Trek Discovery, but bad enough. Well, Ian, thank you. I mean, apparently Janeway makes an appearance in Picard episode number 3. By the way, I found it very suspect that I don't know if there's a media embargo or what. I cannot believe these dogs are barking. They have never barked this long ever. I don't know what's going on. I hope somebody's not torturing them. But anyway, I apologize for their barking. The Picard series, the first 3 episodes debuted the other night in Hollywood at the Cinerama Dome, my beloved Cinerama Dome. I guess my invitation must have been lost in the mail. I can't imagine why nobody would want such a renowned Star Trek fan and luminary such as myself to. Why wouldn't they want me at the Star Trek Picard premiere? I think I know why. No, I'm just kidding. I have no connection to that show, but I wish it the best, and hopefully it's good, but I find it suspect there are no reviews. I've never heard of a media embargo on a TV show before, but maybe that's where we are. I don't know. Speaking of Star Trek, there is a letter from a Mr. Dave Scarpa. Rob, I applaud your righteous indignation on the Star Trek short trek Children of Mars. It was everything that Star Trek didn't used to be about. When half your running time is music and the other half has no dialogue, you better make sure your narrative holds up the structure of the story. In the case of this short trek, it most certainly does not. Well, let me stop you right there, Dave Scarpa, and say that you, sir, and I definitely park our shuttlecrafts in the same shuttle bay. We start out with 2 characters that we have no connection with. Their story so basic, their motivations so thin. The writers want to set up a modern issue of bullying, but address it in such a trite way. A push escalates to warfare between 2 girls. A teacher in the Trek universe that should be fostering better values humiliates one of them, leading to more conflict and eventual fistfighting. The cultural values of the supposed advanced 24th century leads to the crowd cheering them on like hungry animals. Isn't there one friend in the crowd that would at least try and break it up? Nope. Otherwise, the very unearned friendship in the end cannot happen. We don't know yet why Starfleet and the Federation are using synths as a slave labor force to create or fight. And you know what? I don't care. I already saw that story when Ron Moore rebooted it years ago. Of course they did. Because the writers at Star Trek right now, they have to have something to look to and go, oh, we'll make it like that, rather than come up with something new and unique. You know, why don't you build off The Measure of a Man? But no. I want to go out there onward into the future of Trek. I would love to see a mix of old and new characters boldly go into that future together to solve problems and meet new life and new civilizations. There could still be conflict along the way. We could still address current issues and technology through those adventures. We could explore further why man still exists and matters 500 years from now. But given what I've seen of the future of Star Trek Picard, we will still be looking backwards. And for that, I shed a small tear. Keep up the good fight, Rob. Never settle. In the 70s and 80s, with Trek up against Manimal and Automan, we had to. There's just too much good TV to currently have to any longer. Yours truly, Dave Scarpa. Well, Dave, great letter. And yes, I thought the short treks, all of them are huge examples of just how terrible Star Trek is right now. The writing is pedestrian. It is written by people, I mean, even Michael Chabon, who should know better. who somehow has distilled his entire Star Trek experience down to Spock smiling in the unused pilot until it was, of course, used famously in the Menagerie. But that's the entire characterization of Spock. Apparently, he was unformed, which is utterly ridiculous. Yes, Star Trek is in the control of people that they're just not very smart. It is not, well, at least their writing, judging by their writing, not good. Not good. And those short treks are, wow. Once again, let's just kill Starfleet personnel. Let's have bullying in school in the 24th century. You know what's really interesting? Here's my message to Star Trek writers. Everybody writing Star Trek. I don't care if you're writing animated Star Trek. I don't care if you're writing modern Star Trek, whether it's Picard or Discovery. Here's what I want all of you to think. When you have a situation like, say, you want to talk about bullying, okay? You're going to talk about bullying, between two little girls. Rather than have a scene where they're literally fighting in the schoolyard or in a locker bay of a school, which could happen now in any TV show on television. Why not ask yourself, in the 24th century, what would that look like? How would that be? What could I do that's interesting and unique? Put a science fiction spin on it. How are kids being taught in the 24th century? Why would they be going to school? I mean, and if they are going to school, maybe they sit and they have entire subjects just electronically downloaded into their brains. It is 400 years later, after all. Why don't you think about putting a sci-fi spin on it? Instead, you give us, like this letter writer, like Dave wrote, the most pedestrian, the most tired and trite and on-the-nose example of, let's show bullying. No, I want to know. Let's extrapolate. Put your thinking caps on and perhaps write something that wouldn't be in an episode of This Is Us. By the way, Friday I'm going to do an episode on Manifest. Boy, oh boy, I can't wait. Anyway, that's what I would say for anyone writing Star Trek. It would be nice to one day watch an episode of modern Star Trek that doesn't feel like somebody was watching a TV show from, 30 years ago, or a movie from 30 years ago and going, I've got an idea. Let's do let's do an episode about evil AI. Let's do that. Because Skynet's still out there. It's very disappointing. Very, very, very disappointing. Here we go. Speaking on that, Jeffrey Mao, one of our oldest members of the Post, I don't mean old as an age, but a man who's been around the Post-Geek Singularity for a long time, writes in another letter, as he's wont to do. Morning, Rob. I wanted to discuss the issue of plotting, not plotting, but plotting, as it relates to Star Wars in general, the sequel trilogy, and specifically what I feel was a missed opportunity to further deepen Star Wars ties to classic fantasy. Part of the criticisms among many of The Rise of Skywalker has been its breathlessly paced nature. Its incessant jumping from one planet to the other, to the point I think I remember the name of one of the planets, but that's about it. This all apparently occurs in less than one standard day, if we believe Palpatine's threat that attacks would start in 16 hours. By the way, what would be attacking? Doesn't the First Order reign supreme? The completely arbitrary 16-hour deadline thus forces a mad dash race to find the secret Sith homeworld. Now, in many fantasy epics, as well as historical dramas, usually set during a war, we see our heroes go on long journeys where they sometimes will visit many places in a similar number to The Rise of Skywalker. If they don't go on a long journey, then there is an enforced long time apart before our heroes can get home to their family, loved ones, if they ever do. We see this most famously with The Lord of the Rings, where the Fellowship goes on a long journey. They may get broken up, but the bond remains. The journey serves to build and test character, reveal true motivations, grow friendships, and dissolve old hatreds and enmities. We also see a side story with the enforced time apart in Arwen and Aragorn. Aragorn's future father-in-law informs him that he cannot marry Arwen until he defeats Sauron and claims his right to the throne. No pressure there, dude. Arguably, one of the earliest and greatest fantasy duologies, the Iliad and the Odyssey, are all about Odysseus' long journey to war and then his long journey home. Heck, we even got a word out of it that means a long journey in Odyssey, which was a millennia later used in the title for 2001: A Space Odyssey. We see long journeys and time apart serve similar purposes in Game of Thrones as well. Daenerys' journey from Essos to Westeros teaches her what she needs to do and be to reclaim the Iron Throne. Yes, of course, all were thrown out the window in the last couple of episodes of the entire series. Arya, Sansa, Bran, and Jon all journey to find their true meaning and cause as well. For Arya, Bran, and Sansa to try and reunite with their mother, which they never do. However, they do reunite with each other as siblings. Jaime journeys to reunite with Cersei, but realizes that they are far different when they parted. Interestingly, the one main character who travels the least, Cersei, seems the least changed of all. So, with Star Wars, we do get a variation on the classic hero's journey, with Luke leaving home on Tatooine. Lucas may have wanted to contrast that with the journey of his father, where he similarly left Tatooine at a young age. He goes back home, but to tragically discover his mother dying at the hands of Tusken Raiders. Luke also returns home to rescue his friend Han Solo. The Clone Wars animated series, we get a sense of the war and forced time spent apart idea, with Anakin and Padme rarely seeing each other. In an alternate version of the prequels, I wish we had gotten Anakin and Padme marrying quickly, a la GI marrying their sweethearts, before getting on the ship to go to war. It would have been another World War II callback that Lucas loved to put in his films. I think there's one aspect among many that was missing from the sequel trilogy that could really have connected to the previous trilogies, as well as improved its standing as a classic space-based high fantasy. The sequel trilogy lacked that feel, and one of the reasons was because I believe it didn't have some kind of long journey. Even in The Empire Strikes Back, we had something similar with the Millennium Falcon's failing hyperdrive, forcing it to take the slow road. We had a similar slow movement in The Last Jedi, but it wasn't used to anywhere close to the same effect as in Empire. Even if, at the very least, we had a better sense of the rules of hyperdrive, we could have a more drawn-out, slower-paced journey that could have gone to the same number of places, but just didn't feel so rushed. We're almost never told how long it takes to go from one place to another in Star Wars, whereas in Star Trek, the captain is always asking how long it will take to get someplace. In fact, in The Big Goodbye, it is the long travel time to Harada that permits Picard to indulge in his Dixon Hill holodeck program. In Star Wars, the trip from Tatooine to Alderaan takes long enough for Luke to get into training with the drone. We get so many important character moments from Luke, Ben, Han, and Chewie, so there's value to setting part of the story during the journey. Instead of having our heroes bumbling around on the planet, they could have been plotting and planning on the ship. Then they would be ready to go once they got there. Well, those are my thoughts. Looking forward to hearing those of yours in the Post-Geek Singularity. Jeffrey, look, I love journeys. They're part of they make up the DNA of some of my very favorite stories. There and Back Again, Lord of the Rings, one of the great journeys ever. Rise of Skywalker, if you just zip from planet to planet to planet, it doesn't feel like anything's at risk. A lot of people have I have always assumed that Empire Strikes Back details the passage of months of time. I always thought that Luke was on Dagobah training for months, because obviously faster than light travel is how you get around in the Star Wars universe, but once the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive is damaged, the only system that's close by obviously was Bespin, and I figured that it took them a month, 2 months, a long time to get there, crawling along at sublight speed. At least that was always my reading. I don't know what anyone else's is, but people say, no, it took place over a couple days. I'm like, no. I always thought that Luke training with Yoda went on for a while. Basically he went through basic training. It was weeks, if not months, of training with Yoda. He wasn't just there for a day or two. I always thought that was self-evident, but a lot of people don't feel that way, I guess. But I've always thought that way. So, absolutely. RakanMan85 is here and sent in a super chat. RakanMan says, the problem is that streaming is not up to par quality-wise. It just isn't. I have a home theater set up with a 120 projection screen and, part one, I can tell the imperfections of streaming video even with a TGB up and down, a 1 gigabyte up and down internet connection. Same with audio. You're absolutely right. Streaming is nowhere near the quality of a 4K disc. It's just not there yet. We don't have the infrastructure. We'll get there. But if you're a home theater enthusiast with 120 inch screen, you have to have discs. You have to have physical media because streaming doesn't cut it, especially on that large of a screen. And you and I absolutely know that. And yes. Factual Opinion sent in a super chat. This is interesting. Factual Opinion says, in the original series episode A Private Little War, Kirk was right. In the episode A Private Little War, there is the Hill people and the villagers, and they're in conflict. And Kirk rolls into town, and his old friend Tyree, he spent time on this planet. He made friends with Tyree, and Tyree is part of the Hill people, and it turns out that the Klingons have been arming the villagers with weapons that they shouldn't have, rifles, things like that. And Captain Kirk says the only thing that we can do is help the Hill people. We have to balance the power. We have to give them weapons that they can counter what the Klingons are giving to the Hill people. And the whole thing was certainly an allegory of what was at the time the Vietnam War. Basically, Vietnam was a proxy war that was being fought between the Soviet Union and America, using, unfortunately, the people of Southeast Asia to fight. And it was a horrible conflict, but they couldn't directly address that on Star Trek. And one of the great genius of genre programming, what Rod Serling was doing on Twilight Zone, and what Roddenberry and his staff of incredible writers, both on staff, people like Gene Kuhn and Dorothy Fontana, and then people they brought in from the outside, was dealing, as Star Trek does, dealing with our world today through the prism of a science fiction fantasy adventure show like Star Trek, which was in fact amazing. And so that was a Private Little War is a great episode. And in that episode, much to the chagrin of Dr. McCoy, it is Kirk who says, we must do this. You know, we have to we have to arm them. And McCoy's like, you're condemning these people to decades of war. And Kirk, as according to Factual Opinion, says Kirk was correct. I believe that he was correct. If he didn't do what he did, if he didn't arm those Hill people and he didn't restore the balance of power because of Klingon intervention, his friends, the Hill people, would have been slaughtered, and that would have been bad. So I agree with you, Factual Opinion. And thank you for sending in that super chat. And especially, I love hearing from people that share my own point of view. That doesn't mean you all have to, but I think Factual Opinion, your reading of the episode of Private Little War, is in fact correct. So thank you for that. Mark C. sent in a super chat and says, Gilbert is nothing. My brother-in-law had a dog eat his original Apple pressing of all 14 Beatles albums. Oh, that's horrific, dude. How does that happen? Was it on vacation? How did that happen? Oh my God. When your brother-in-law told you this, did you say, look, man, all he needs is love. Don't hurt the dog. That's what I would have said. Richard Ford sends in a super chat and says, thanks for your coverage of the Duel of the Fates. Even geeks and gamers, Jeremy might like the new characters if it made it to the theaters. Too bad we got the JJ version. Well, yeah, I mean, I think people are going to be puzzling over it. The one thing that I can say, by the way, I heard some really interesting information since I talked about the script. The film was deep into pre-production, and I was told that there was a lot of production art that was already created. And one of my favorite sequences that I lamented, I don't know if I really got into this in the script, I talked a little bit about it, but when they're on Bonadan, the planet Bonadan, when Poe and Rey, they go to this planet and they basically go to a seer, a mystic, who reaches into Rey's mind because they're looking for the location of Mortis, which is the well where the living force sprang from. And when they go to this planet, I guess it was replaced by the Zori Bliss scene in Rise of Skywalker, But one, the scene with the Mystic was interesting because of Rey's connection with Kylo Ren. They're able to extract this information because Kylo knows where he's going. But after that scene happens, the Knights of Ren are on their tail, and they have to get back to the Falcon, where Chewie is, and they end up taking a sailing ship onto whether it's an ocean, I guess it was an ocean, that's a coastal town, and it was a sequence where the Knife Nine, the Knights of Ren ship, is attacking from the air, and Poe is sailing, and Rey is on and I saw it, in my mind, I kind of saw it as Jabba's sail barge, but on the water. Like if Jabba's sail barge was a boat or something like that. A Star Wars sailing craft that's really fast, like a catamaran or something like that. And they're on the water, and they're shooting at the Knife Nine, and then they get to where Chewie is, and the Knights of Ren come out and attack, and that's where Rey is unleashed. And the way I read it, it was going to be like the battle in Snoke's throne room. It was going to be that kind of a battle against the Knights of Ren. I mean, I was like, this sounded epic, and it made sense. And the Knights of Ren have more character, by the way, in the Duel of the Fates script. And it was just, again, it was a Star Wars thing. You're in a new environment. It reminded me more of maybe a tropical environment or maybe it was more of a like Fiji or something, not so tropical that we saw in Rogue One, but just interesting. And I'm sorry we never got to see that. And look, I think everybody, when they read my biggest takeaway from the Duel of the Fates script was that it felt like Star Wars. The character interplay was very Star Wars, because one of the things that I think is completely missing from the sequel trilogy entirely is all the character interplay, all the fun character interplay, the humorous interplay, but also the interplay where we're learning something, the sage-like wisdom that we were delivered by Ben Kenobi. It was all very interesting, and it's what made Star Wars for me, and I'm sorry to see that we didn't get that. Jeffrey Mao sent in a tip and said, I think I sent in a letter maybe a month ago. It must have gotten lost, but the gist was that since Disney Plus is not starting in certain Asian markets for 1 to 2 years, it's possible that physical media will still be sold in those markets until Disney Plus drops. So the chance for those with access to those markets. Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, I look at it this way. I buy stuff from Amazon Japan all the time. I buy stuff from Hong Kong all the time. So yeah, I think we're going to see physical media, but it's probably not going to be released here. I mean, I've been buying 3D, the MCU discs from the UK for years now because they've stopped selling them here. I mean, I recently got Spider-Man Far From Home on 3D disc, and it's unfortunate. It's a real bummer. Joseph is here. Joseph sent in a tip. He said, Rob, you have the attention of the whole internet because of that script leak. And Collider put out an article calling you a YouTuber instead of a longtime collaborator, the ungrateful bastards. Also, Willow, hurry up with that Year of Hell review. Oh, yes. For those of you who might be new here, one of our favorite members of the Post-Geek Singularity is Willow Yang. Did I not read her super chat? She sent me I can't remember now. I think I did. Willow Yang is our own PhD candidate. She's going to be a molecular biologist, and she has a much lower opinion of herself than we do. She's an extraordinary human being, and she's a great writer, and she has amazing insight into Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. She's a published writer. Yes, I did. I can't believe I skipped what she said. Willow Yang sent in a tip, and she says, best wishes to Zoe. I'm going to try and get my mom to watch A New Hope. I'm predicting that she's going to tap out within the first 30 minutes. Oh, my God. Okay, I had I went out with a girl that was near and dear to my heart. Still is one of the great ladies I've ever met. She's half Chinese, and one of the great joys of our relationship was her mother. And there's nothing better than hearing the reaction of a Chinese mother to science fiction, fantasy, and horror, especially one that came from China, an actual Chinese immigrant, having them watch these things, Western things, and getting their commentary. Willow, I want a blow-by-blow, play-by-play. As a matter of fact, I would rather just turn your phone on, put on A New Hope. Don't even tell your mom, and just record, because she's going to be loquacious and talk to you. Just record everything she says and transcribe it. I'm telling you, it'll be fantastic, and we don't want to laugh. We won't be laughing at your mom. We'll be laughing with your mom, and it'll be fantastic. Please do it. What do I have to do? Yes, Joseph, it's interesting. Back to what I was saying, thank you for reminding me about Willow, because I missed her super chat. Willow, I can't believe I missed your super chat. Willow, by the way, Willow Yang does have her own section on the Burnettwork.net website called, of course, Willow Talk. And I'm sure every time I say Willow Talk, that Vesna in Sarajevo crackles or cracks up. I think that I need to give like Vesna Vesna should just straight up get a Pillow Talk column. Shouldn't you, Vesna? You absolutely should. Maybe we'll have to work that out. Maybe the one thing that we don't have is I've always wanted to read a genre or a geek sex advice column. Like, who could be the geek Dan Savage? I mean, maybe I could be, but nobody wants to hear that. I'd love to publish that. It'd be a lot of fun. But yes, Joseph, it's very funny because my work at Collider, I tend to compartmentalize what I do. Like when I'm working on a film, I don't tell people like, oh, I've worked on these other things. I never do that. There's a lot of people that don't even know I have a YouTube show that I've been doing. And then when they find out I've done 300 plus episodes, they're like, wait, what? Because when you go places, you don't walk in and go, hi, my name is Rob Burnett, and let me tell you what I do. I mean, maybe some people do that. I don't do that. But whenever you work on something, you want the people that you're working for to think that that's the only thing that you're doing. I have learned that you've had to, especially in the indie film world now, you have to diversify. You have to have multiple things that you do. Otherwise, you can't make a living anymore. And unfortunately, until I have some kind of breakthrough commercial success, look, Tango Shalom, I think is great, and there's a lot of people that love it, and there's a lot of really interesting things that are swirling around Tango Shalom that I can't talk about, but it's been very interesting and very gratifying. But it's not like Tango Shalom is ever going to make me a ton of money. Maybe I'll be able to get paid a lot of money for my next film, but that's just the way of the world. So, and that's just, I have no problem with that. Ashley Short is here. Ashley Short says, hi, Rob. I'm going to place you between a rock and a hard place. Ooh. If you could only greenlight one of these projects, which would it be? A sequel to 2012's Dread or a sequel to Mad Max Fury Road? Thanks, Rob, for all that you do. Actually, that's an easy one for me. I would absolutely greenlight a sequel to Fury Road. Not that I didn't love Dread, and I loved Carl Urban as Dread. I've got to put out, now that I'm approaching 20,000 subscribers, I've got to put out the wall of action figures, and I will have my Carl Urban Dread next to my Sylvester Stallone Dread, because they're cool. I would have to go with Fury Road, though, because I think George Miller, he didn't get to make enough movies in his life, and the man is an incredible filmmaker. As Dieter Bastian would be happy to know, I did get Lorenzo's Oil from Deutschland. So Dieter, yes, because it hasn't been released on Blu-ray here, and I think Lorenzo's Oil is a terrific, terrific movie. Murray Reich tips and says, release the Babu Frick cut. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if the Babu Frick cut can ever be released, but I think that's pretty funny. I think it's absolutely pretty funny. Now, here's another one. This letter comes from our man, Swag Props Cal, all the way over there in Malaysia. Now, I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Cal from Swag Props and Cal is there. What he basically does is he makes prop replicas of books from movies. I know, it's pretty specific. But if I could just implore everyone, SWAK, it's S''WAK, one word, and then props. It was told to me that SWAK is the South Island. The guy's incredible. Like, his work is incredible. And he sent me a copy of the 9 Gates of the Kingdom of Heaven that was made. Obviously, that was the book that everyone was running around after in Roman Polanski's The Ninth Gate. It's unbelievable. He also sent me a copy of Rorschach's journal. Now, he's also made books like he did Henry Jones's Grail Diary from Indiana Jones on the Last Crusade. Uh, and I know he does not pay me. He did send me examples of his work, though, which I'm eternally and forever grateful for. Amazing, amazing stuff. And if you want to give a film fan in your life something unique, go to the Swack Props Etsy store and check it out. Now, it's true. What are you going to do with a fake book? Well, I mean, what do I do with a model of an eagle from Space 1999? What do I do with these action figures? You have it. But the thing about Swack Props is you can pick them up, flip through them. You can marvel at the work that was put into them. Amazing, amazing stuff. So anyway, that said, Swack Props writes me, "Hey, Rob. With No Time to Die looming on the horizon, I thought I'd write to you about the possibility, or possibly, the greatest villain in the Bond franchise's rogues gallery, the nefarious Ernst Stavro Blofeld. Blofeld and his shadowy organization Spectre, the special executive for counterintelligence, terrorism, revenge, and extortion, were the joint creation of Ian Fleming and Kevin McClory and appeared in literary form in the James Bond novels Thunderball, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and You Only Live Twice. The character was subsequently adapted for the Eon Productions Bond film series beginning in 1963 with From Russia with Love. Fleming, McClory, and Jack Whittingham had conceived of Blofeld and Spectre when they collaborated on a number of drafts for a possible film or television series featuring Fleming's creation, James Bond. A lot of people don't know that Spectre was a creation with film producer Kevin McClory. They were going to make Thunderball. When the project was scrapped, Fleming took the screenplay and novelized it into his 9th novel, Thunderball, in 1961, but he didn't credit McClory and Whittingham. The two later filed suit, which was settled out of court in 1963, and that is why all subsequent printings of the novel state on the copyright page, the story is based on a screen treatment by Kevin McClory, Jack Whittingham, and Ian Fleming, specifically in that order. In that novel, Fleming described Blofeld as a broad, physically imposing man with a black crew-cut hair and weighing close to 300 pounds. In his second appearance on Her Majesty's Secret Service, Bond learns that Blofeld's appearance has changed to a tall, thin man under 200 pounds with long silver hair and a lack of earlobes and a disfigured nose due to infection. He's hiding out in the Swiss mountains under an alias, planning an eco-terrorist assault against Britain's agriculture economy. Blofeld's third and final appearance in the Fleming novels was in 1964's You Only Live Twice, where he is now hiding in Japan after plastic surgery and is more muscular, his nose infection is healed, and he sports a gray Fu Manchu-style mustache. In this novel, it becomes clear that Blofeld has gone insane, which he admits to Bond in their confrontation. At the end of the book, Bond strangles him to death. Like his literary counterpart, the cinematic Blofeld's look changed with each appearance, which matches with his desire to be an ultimately unknowable but ever-present supervillain. Blofeld first appeared on screen in From Russia with Love, where he is seen only from behind his chair, his hands petting his trademark white Persian cat. He was played by Anthony Dawson, who starred as Professor Dent in Dr. No, while Eric Pullman supplied his voice. We again see him, also face hidden in Thunderball, again played by Anthony and voiced by Pullman. It wasn't until You Only Live Twice that we finally see Blofeld in all his maniacal glory, played by the inimitable Donald Pleasance, which, I'll gladly admit, is my favorite screen version of the character. Now he is, for the first time, bald, sports a severe vertical facial gash from his right forehead straight down the right side of his face, causing his right eye to droop, and he wears a stylish, Nehru-like gray suit while speaking in German accented English. Pleasance's performance pretty much defined Blofeld in the public eye, so much so that this version has now been made famously, ironically, in the form of parody, as Dr. Evil in the Austin Powers series. The chameleon Blofeld changed his appearance in the next film adaptation, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which sees a pre-Kojak Telly Savalas take up the role. Savalas was fine as Blofeld, showing no real disfigurement other than the missing earlobes, but with his somewhat calm and cool demeanor, he seemed a bit underwhelming compared to Pleasance's maniacal portrayal earlier. Come on, man! Telly Savalas rules as Blofeld, but you're probably right, he's certainly not as iconic. 1971's Diamonds Are Forever, which marked Connery's return to the role of Bond, saw Blofeld's appearance altered through plastic surgery as he is portrayed by the actor Charles Gray. Tall, white hair, and with a refined British temperament. I have to say, this is my least favorite version, and the movie doesn't do much to endear itself to me. Making mud pies, 007? Yeah, it's... Boy, Diamonds Are Forever. Not age well. After being absent for 10 years, Blofeld makes a brief appearance in the pre-title sequence of 1981's For Your Eyes Only. Shh. We're not supposed to say that's Blofeld. This time, he is wheelchair-bound, his face is unseen, but he's back with his trademark bald head, narrow gray suit, and white Persian cat as he tries to kill Roger Moore's Bond before 007 dispatches him. Cue the opening titles. Not showing Blofeld's face and the lack of screen credit for the character was puzzling, but made sense after Sean Connery returned to the screen as Bond in 1983's Never Say Never Again, a remake of Thunderball, independently produced by Kevin McClory, not Eon Productions. In this version, Blofeld was played by Max von Sydow with an almost sovereign-like persona, but with a penchant for white cats. I liked Max von Sydow as Blofeld. For those of you who don't know, Kevin McClory, because of this, spent his life basically suing the Broccoli's and everybody involved with the James Bond franchise at Eon Productions, and it was partly the reason why there wasn't a Bond film for 6 years between 1989's License to Kill and 1995's GoldenEye. And it was a bummer, because we were getting basically Bond films every 2 years up until that point. Which brings us to the present. When I heard Christoph Waltz was cast as Franz Oberhauser, a.k.a. Blofeld Inspector, I was thrilled. He was great as Hans Landa, so he'd make the ultimate Bond Blofeld, right? Well, after watching the movie, it was apparent to me that Waltz's Blofeld was the biggest wasted opportunity in the history of the Bond franchise. In the movie, Blofeld talked about all the evil deeds he's done, Vesper, Quantum, Silva, but we never actually see him do anything all that dastardly. He's basically evil by proxy. He's saying like, hey, remember all that bad shit your other villains did? Well, I'm their boss. To me, this is mainly due to the producer's lack of vision when it came to rebooting the series. They had promise with Casino Royale, but they never then laid down a coherent story arc for anything that happens. So when we get to Spectre, everything is retconned and shoehorned into the max. Shoehorned to the max. Why does that seem familiar? And why was it necessary for Blofeld to have such a personal, familial connection to Bond? Are they now taking inspiration from Austin Powers? Lest we forget, in Goldmember, it was revealed that Dr. Evil is actually Austin's long-lost twin, ergo, Bond has to be somewhat related to Blofeld, too. Waltz's Blofeld is poised to return again in No Time to Die, and I really hope this time they put him to good use. It would be a shame if they didn't, especially considering this is Craig's swan song as Bond, and this possibly might be the last entry in the franchise. It's also a shame that the current cinematic iteration of Blofeld pales in comparison to a knockoff in the form of Solomon Lane in the Mission Impossible movies, albeit brilliantly played by Sean Harris. Harris's Lane is more Blofeld than Waltz's Inspector, that's for sure. What's your take on Waltz's portrayal of Blofeld, Rob, and which iteration is your favorite? Sincerely yours, Cal K, a.k.a. Swack Props. Well, Cal, what a great letter. As everyone knows, I'm a huge Bond aficionado. I love James Bond, and hopefully I'll be able to go see No Time to Die in London, although work seems to be increasingly treading in on those plans, which is kind of a bummer, but I'll keep you updated. Anyway, I thought Spectre is a missed opportunity. I understand, when the Bond franchise was setting the tone and trailblazing in the 60s, then you got some really interesting stuff. But now the Bond franchise has been trying to catch up since the 70s, and I'm sure the Marvel Cinematic Universe had an effect on Spectre. Well, let's tie it all in together. Oh, it was not good. Not good. I mean, I didn't like Skyfall very much, and I thought Spectre was a huge disappointment. Love the opening. Love the opening in Mexico. The Day of the Dead thing was great. I love the fact that now they have that Day of the Dead parade. They didn't until that movie came out. Now they're like, no, let's do that. It's a tour for the Board of Tourism. But yeah, what a wasted opportunity. He did nothing. And his equipment can apparently be, whether he's flying in a helicopter or he's got his base in the middle of the desert, one gunshot can blow it all up. Really not good. And his plan at the end, I mean, I always said somebody should make a fan film about the PA, the production assistant that works for Blofeld, that somehow he went and Xeroxed all those pictures and hung them up with the red yarn in the old MI6 headquarters. It's so not good. So not good. It just blows me away that how that movie was made. One of the most lackluster climaxes to any Bond film. Really didn't like Blofeld. There was no plan. I mean, their plan was even being executed by other people. Yeah, we're gonna get in on all the action. We're gonna get all that surveillance equipment that's happening over there in British intelligence. I mean, that was it. Steal some nuclear bombs. Why doesn't Blofeld build another? Well, not build another because that was Carl Stromberg's, but do something like they did in You Only Live Twice. Build a volcano base where you're launching spaceships from. You know, it's been a bummer. I agree with you, Cal. I did not like it at all. It was very much a disappointment. Very disappointing. And I don't know what to say. It really, yeah, it did not work. It did not work at all, and I thought they really ruined the character. They didn't give Christopher Waltz anything to play. He didn't have any. He really wasn't doing anything, and I don't know. I think it's a real bummer. It was not cool. It was not cool. Oh, you know, this is interesting. Dean Mikitich, our longtime viewer, Dean, he's been here for a long time, writing to me about something that we haven't talked about much here. I haven't seen this yet, but I'm curious to hear what Dean has to say. Hi, Rob and the Post-Geek Singularity. I know many of you have not seen For All Mankind. I thought I would send in my review. Don't worry, I'll keep this spoiler-free. From people that have not seen the show and only the trailers, I have heard them say it's woke. So then I say, yes, the trailer does give that impression, but let me tell you, this is not the case. Men are not shown to be complete idiots, and women have all the answers, as you might expect from a show that is woke. In fact, both sexes are written truthfully, as they were in the late 60s and early 70s. You even get the impression that one female character has a dislike of another because of the choices she'd made involving something women were not expected to do at the time, and was also not a woman's place. In the first episode, as you would expect, sets up the show, opening with the world waiting for the first man to step foot on the moon. We see Mission Control manned and busy. Marge Slayton walks up to Werner von Braun asking, is this really happening? And then it happens. The first man comes out of the lander and takes his first step onto the moon. He turns toward the camera feed and everyone watching and makes his speech, but it's not in English. It's in Russian. The Soviets have beaten America to the moon by a few months. This sets the stage for the premise of this great show. What would have happened if the Soviets had beaten the U.S. to the moon? As with any pilot episode, the rest of it is introducing us to the main characters and the world building, and also shows us America's reaction to not being first. The second episode deals with the political fallout of America not being first. Someone has to take the blame. We also learn more about two of the astronauts' families and how this is affecting them. Then at the end of the episode, America also gets another kick in the teeth. The third episode deals with more political fallout and gives you real-world history that I never knew about, the Mercury 13. This was a group of 13 women pilots who were privately funded and training to join the Mercury project to be the first astronauts. Unfortunately, due to sex discrimination, they never became part of the NASA project. This really shows you how much times have changed. I will not give a synopsis for the rest of the series from episode 3 and on because the story picks up and I don't want to spoil it. There are also 2 time jumps during the first season, but they are only a few years, so there's no real need to age the cast. The acting and writing in the show are excellent, but this is what I've come to expect from a Ronald D. Moore show. As for the show itself, I would say it's spot on when it comes to the realism of the era in which it is set. I love the space scenes, the use of gravity inside the redacted due to spoiler on the moon was wrong. You can clearly see that it is Earth normal and not what we've come to know as the norm for the moon. It is not a problem that pulls you out of the story, but it's noticeable. This only happens a few times, so I can let it slide. But there's one scene where an object is dropped and it falls as it should. The show has great drama and some really nice tension moments. If you do watch this series, I suggest you watch the end credits on the final episode because there is a post-credits scene that will set up what happens in Season 2, which will be set in the 80s. This also means that it is highly likely we will get a bunch of new actors and characters in Season 2. I love it. The only complaint I have with the show is the streaming service it is on. With it being on Apple, it is never going to get the audience it deserves. It's highly unlikely that it will turn up on Netflix or Amazon, so I do hope that Apple has the good sense to sell it to a TV broadcaster so more people will get to see it. With that, I give the first season of For All Mankind 8 out of 10, and I look forward to what Ronald D. Moore has planned for it in Season 2. After all, the world he has created will be a very different 1980s than we lived through. Finally, I won't expect it, but I would love it if Ronald D. Moore does a nice tip of the hat to the shuttle Enterprise. Maybe she does actually make it to space. Dean M. Well, Dean, what a great letter. Thank you very much for writing that in. I am a huge space freak. I really look forward to seeing this movie or this show. I haven't pulled the trigger on Apple yet. Unfortunately, I really haven't. But I really want to see it, and it's good to know that you enjoyed it. So that's good. Brian Erdy sent in a super chat. Brian Erdy says, you mentioned that we can upload videos to your page. I did the Rise of Skywalker junket and would like to share a package or two. Is that okay? That's an interesting question, Brian. I would say yes. If you go to the Burnettwork.net website, you can upload your videos. I would imagine since you're at the junket, I can play them. I mean, if they come from you. However, if you did do them and if they are owned by another media outlet, maybe I can. I mean, I've had a few snafus playing trailers in the second season, but I don't think so. There is a place to upload videos. It works. If you want to send me videos of any kind, of yourself, of your dog, of your girlfriend, of your mom, of whatever movie theater that you go watch movies in, your favorite drink, your favorite candy bar, your action figure collection, whatever you want. I would encourage everybody to send, when I said girlfriend, you could be your significant other, your grandparents. I'm always interested to hear from different people. I've been getting videos from all over the world. Just know that if you send a video, I will assume that I have your approval to show it on the show and also repurpose it in a video of its own. And again, you can go to the Burnettwork.net website and do just that. So that, so just so you know. And I think that's a lot of fun to do that. I mean, I love hearing from you guys and seeing you guys, and it's always fun to put names to faces, which is always a great thing. So, yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's a shorter show than many of you are used to, but I'm going to bring an end to this Robservations episode number 319. First of all, I want to thank all of the new supporters, everybody who's been supporting the channel. It's been overwhelming in the last couple of days. I do have something to say. It's got Captain Kirk at the end of Mirror, Mirror. I have something to say. For now, I have something to say. A lot of people have wondered if the information I shared about the Duel of the Fates script was somehow, if I made it up, if I did it for clicks. Look, as everybody who watches this show knows, I mean, there will always be an element, to be honest, there's an economic element to this show, certainly. And, but what I do, and do I want to get more subscribers? Absolutely. I really am. I'd really like to get more subscribers. But I was surprised at just how many people jumped all over this. Because, in all honesty, I have lots of scripts that I have that never got made that I could share with people, but I never thought there would be that much interest. I'm not going to make that a usual topic of the show. Obviously, with Star Wars, it was topical, it was interesting, and I thought that knowing about the development process, that it would be fun to share. I was surprised at I couldn't believe it got picked up as much as it did, but there's a lot of people that are accusing me of making it up. Well, I don't do that. I wouldn't share something from you guys or for you guys. I wouldn't share it if I didn't think it was real. And it's very apparent, what I read was very apparent that it was real. And I thought it was worth sharing. It was funny. I mean, I don't know, legality. I mean, it's not like I stole it. I didn't leak it. I was just reporting on something I read, and I read it. It was never made. That script was never made. Unfortunately, it's too bad. I thought what was interesting. I mean, we've been listening to Chris Terrio's, I don't know if it's his apology tour or what. I did feel though that what we've been hearing out of the camp of making this film, especially the leaks over the last couple of years in the making of this movie, I think there's been a lot of things that weren't true that were said about the making of this movie. I think that it clears it all up, And by the way, I keep saying Colin Trevorrow. it might very well be Colin Trevorrow. I don't know. Maybe I've been saying it wrong the whole time. So Colin Trevorrow or Colin Trevorrow. Maybe it is Trevorrow. If it is, I apologize. I've been saying it wrong, his name wrong the whole time. So that probably makes me look like an idiot and sort of takes my credibility down a peg. But, it's like when you read comic books. You never know. Magneto. I always said Magneto for the record, but a lot of my friends when I was a kid, no, it's Magneto, like, Magnet-O. I'm like, no, Magneto's cooler. Magneto didn't sound as cool. But anyway, look, if I didn't think it was real, I wouldn't share it. I'm not into rumor mongering. I don't, even though, as you know from Fred Ward, if you've ever seen Robert Altman's The Player, one of my favorite modern movies about Hollywood, the rumors are always true. I just thought it was cool and worth sharing. And certainly I knew that people would dig it, but I didn't think that I was going to get the kind of jump in subscribers that I got. And I want to thank everybody for subscribing, and I've appreciated. There's been a lot of people who've taken umbrage of the fact that these are being reported. This is being reported as a leak, and they're not crediting me. Look, I've always believed that whoever does something, it always wins out. And I'm happy that I was able to share something that the community found useful. And yes, I'm not going to lie, the byproduct of having new subscribers is great. But just so you know, it's put undue pressure on me to now have my wall of hot toys that I'm going to reveal, which I thought I was going to have at least a month to do that. I have to get more Billy bookcases and build the wall. I'm going to build a wall before Donald Trump builds his wall, let me tell you. And by the way, I want those Hot Toys figures in here. It's going to be great. So anyway, I want to thank all of my new subscribers. It's great to have you. I hope you stick around. I hope you find this channel to be something that you enjoy. I know that there's going to be a lot of people that were members of the Post-Geek Singularity who are going to be saying, who the hell are all these people? We've had a very great community here, and I would ask you, I dare say that this community that we're building is one of the best, if not the best, fan communities on YouTube, and I would hope that newcomers definitely respect all of my core constituency who have been loyal viewers and who have been so great and made this community what it is. And that goes also into the fact that our moderators, beginning with the Honorable Mayor Mike Bodden of Riverdale, Iowa, of course, Detective Jim Boyers, Detective Jim, who is an actual former police officer and a detective, one of our moderators. Of course, we also have the great Greg Smith, who is building a 1-to-1 scale snow speeder. After building Priscilla, the Imperial probe droid, and Luke's land speeder, he will have a snow speeder at the Emerald City Comic Con. He is one of your moderators. And then we also have our newest moderators, both Louis Yu and Jordy Lyons. So give them a hearty congratulations and say hello to them because they do so much for this channel. It wouldn't be the place it is without them. So for all of you new subscribers that might be watching now, say hello to our moderators. Hello, moderators. Thanks very much for all that you do. And so I'm bringing this Robservations episode 319 to a close. Tomorrow, assuming everything works, I'm going to have the first guest in the Robservatory. I am going to have an old friend of mine, filmmaker Paul Salamoff, is going to be here, and he's going to be talking about the process of making his first independent science fiction movie that was just released. You can get it. It's called Encounter, and he worked with some genre favorites, but he will be in the studio tomorrow. If all goes well, you know how technically efficient I've been, or technically adept, tomorrow, and that should be an interesting show. I haven't had a live guest for a while. I'll have a topic to discuss as well, but Paul will be here, and we'll talk about what it is like making an independent science fiction film in Hollywood. So I hope you guys are around for that. And remember, every person you meet has a story to tell you have yet to hear. All you have to do is listen. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, gentle beings, aliens from all over the place, I'd like to think that extraterrestrials are watching this show closely, waiting for the next amazing material that I'm going to scoop everyone on. Scoop everyone on. And by the way, one more thing. No, I will absolutely not give anybody, I can honestly say, and you can tell, since apparently this material that I was reporting on has not been seen anywhere else, I certainly didn't do anything with it. I certainly have not passed along any information that I may or may not know, or any documents I may or may not be in possession of, which may or may not even exist. But it's nice to know that it's not out there. But boy, I've been getting offers. Man, people have been sending me. I've never been. They're bribing. I mean, I had things dangled in front of me that I really wanted. Other scripts that I really wanted to read. One in particular, and no, it's not the new Bond script, but it is a script for a movie I'm very interested in, and that was dangled in front of me, and I didn't do it. Nor will I. Nor can I, to be honest. But anyway, that said, as always, I bring you Robservations, a show about something. I'm Robert Meyer Burnett, and as always, have a better day.